At least someone's happy I'm home. It's just a dream. You're dreaming. I don't know
Thank
what's
you guys so
happening.
much for watching my acapella version of the Stranger Things theme song.
I did not understand how that was Stranger Things.
Okay, welcome to
This is
Movie
a mess.
Mentality. This is a mess so far. Welcome to Movie Mentality. I'm Matthew.
I'm Timmy. And we just got back from seeing Stranger Things Season 3, even though it came out a year ago in the theater.
This is going to be a very different kind of video because, one, this isn't a movie.
It's not a movie.
But we both really like Stranger Things, and we can
Yes.
both, and it kind of works as a movie, you know?
You could
like
watch it as a movie, but it'd take like all
8
day.
hours or something. But we both like Stranger Things, and we thought it would be fun to just talk about it because, you know, why the frick not? So, season 3, I'm just gonna start out. I really love season 3.
We love season 3. It's not
I love season
overrated.
3.
It is overhated. People
I
just hate it
see-
because of like a few things that they hear other people hating it about.
Yeah, and they're like, oh wait, that doesn't make sense.
Russians.
Season 3 was my most anticipated thing last year, really. Like, I was more excited for it than Star Wars. Like, before, and this was before I saw it, you know. I was more excited for it than Star Wars. I thought that because, okay, a little bit of
this
backstory.
had so much hype. Star Wars had like 3% hype.
A little bit of setup for season 3. Season 2 came out October 27th, 2017, and I remember it came out on a Friday. I remember waking up really early and watching it all day. Didn't get like half my homework done, and I thought it was so amazing. Then after we waited, I say we, like the fans and the general public, whoever watches Stranger Things, we went throughout 2018 without getting any new content. In the middle of 2018, we got a little Starcourt Mall trailer, and it was like a fake commercial for the mall.
Oh yeah.
And it was like, and at the end, it had Steve and Robin, which we didn't know who Robin was at the time, but still, she was in the fake commercial. And then at the end of 2018, we got the
intro, I think.
The intro with the episode titles, which, by the way, some of the titles changed, which I want to point out. Yeah. It was I think only 2 of them changed. I think it was like episodes like 6 and 7 or like 5 and 6 or something. One of them was originally called The Birthday, and another one was originally called The Source. On December 31st, 2018, we got and / January 1st, 2019, we got a little New Year's teaser trailer, which revealed the release date, that being July 4th, 2019. Right? It had fireworks, yeah. And I was so hyped. I remember I saw on like not like a live stream. Beforehand on December 31st, I remember seeing this video and it had like 20 views, right? And it was like Stranger Things season 3, like the trailer, and like in Times Square in New York, there was footage of like a fake like news thing, and it was like Hawkins, Indiana, on the corner, and then people were like, "Oh my gosh, what does this mean?" It was in Times Square, and it was like it didn't even have Stranger Things on the logo. It was just like Hawkins, Indiana. We also got a poster, the first poster for the show. I was so hyped. I remember staring at it and like analyzing it for 20 minutes and being like, "Oh my gosh!" So then
tentacles.
On March 20th, the first trailer for Stranger Things season 3 dropped. And a little bit of backstory: me and Timmy, again, we've said this, we really loved this show. We went to the same high school.
If you can even call it a high school.
If you can call it a high school. 1 million subscribers, and
we'll make a vlog about going back to our old
school.
My heart.
We were in the bathroom because the freaking our like study hall monitors.
That's the only
really
place you can use your phone without
getting caught, unless if a stupid male teacher walks in there. I remember I was like, did the trailer come out? And Timmy was like, I saw something on Instagram, but I think it was only like a picture. I pulled out my phone and I just see the first thing recommended for me, Stranger Things season 3 trailer, and I was like, the trailer's here. I was like, dude. And then we watched it, and we were in the bathroom, and thank the Lord that no one else was there, because we were like, oh my gosh, and we were like freaking out.
We saw the monster at the end, and we were like,
and we were like, oh my gosh. We were both so hyped, and we went outside, and our friend Landon, you guys, I guess you don't know him. Yeah, he has
subscribed to what's his, like the BMX addict or whatever.
So we went out to out of the bathroom, and everybody was standing there talking. We were like, new Stranger Things trailer, and then we were like, you gotta watch it. He's like, I can watch it at home. We were like, I remember Timmy being like, no, you need to watch it right now.
Fake fan.
That was like the happiest I was, like that at that school, at our high school.
It was so good they released it during the summer, because it's such a summer vibe.
Oh yeah, it's such a I'm gonna get into that in a second, but that's just a little thing about the hype around the show. That was March 20th, and then they released the final trailer, which was even more hype. Then July 4th, 2019. Frick 4th of July, it's Stranger Things time. I remember staying up until 3 a.m. when it dropped on Netflix and watching it and being so down. I was like, Stranger Things is back. This is happening. I'm so hyped.
We were not disappointed.
I was not disappointed at all. Yeah, I just remember watching it and loving it, laughing, freaking crying my eyes out by the end. And it was such a great experience. I don't think like I said, that was my most anticipated thing in 2019. It did not disappoint. And it was like such a good season. There's something about this fun summer thing. The season just screams summer.
It's such an amazing 80s, one of those fun 80s kids movies. It's literally that times like 10. Because it's like, it's got, I think a lot of people, I'm sorry I interrupted, but.
No. I've been talking for like 30
It's fine. A lot of people who hate on the Russian thing, but I feel like a lot of movies in the 80s with kids like that, like the Goonies.
Yeah, when you think about the Goonies, people love the Goonies, and I love the Goonies too, but still, it's less unrealistic, or more unrealistic than
Back to the
Stranger
Future is
Things.
definitely not realistic, but it's
good. But people love it, and I love that movie. And it's just like season 3 just works for me. Like the first episode, and you see first of all, the music in the show is amazing. I love the soundtrack. I own all the season soundtracks.
Oh yeah, it's like the perfect 80s ambience.
Yeah, like the track for Starcourt Mall, like dun 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 dun, like that is it's so good. So I mean, there's so much that happens in it, but basically the main story of this season, everybody knows if you're watching this video, but still, Billy gets possessed by the Mind Flayer. There's he's flaying people, as they say. There's Russians under the mall. The kids, they're all split up. They all have to do their own thing, solving these, I guess, mysteries in a way.
It's got the whole thing, like Stranger Things always does, like the exploration, and like there's so many groups and there's so many like things that people are doing, but it's not too much. It's not like it doesn't feel,
when you think about it, there is so much going on, but it all works together. Like the show's pacing is so good. Like it shouldn't work with how much is going on. Like if this was any other show and there were this many, I guess, subplots, they're not even really subplots, because mostly everything that's happening matters,
it's important. It's hard to do that kind of thing.
It is very hard, and it all works for me. Episodes 1 through 3, they are kind of slow, but like I care about the characters, so like it's a good slow. So like I'm entertained while I'm watching it, even though like the overall plot isn't really kicking into high gear. Season 3 is very different from seasons 1 and 2, and in my opinion, at least compared to the first 2, it is sort of a season of like levity. It's sort of like, because in season 1 and 2, these kids have been through so much, and in this season they still go through a lot, but it's like they're not like torturing them as much. like Will, for example. If you've seen the show, you know what happens to Will in seasons 1 and 2.
Oh, this is basically
And
like Will's break season. Like Will's honestly like pushed to the side, which isn't even a bad thing because he's been the main like focus in the past 2 seasons. There's a lot. It's the scale of the season you
is
can tell
insane.
that the budget is higher.
So things I like about season 3, I'm really into filmmaking. I want to get into that in the future. So like I really appreciate good cinematography. This show's cinematography is like top notch for a Netflix show. It is so good. It's filmed so well. Every episode feels like a movie. Like Timmy was saying, the budget and special effects like is movie level in this season especially. So
I need a bathroom break.
all right, I'll do Stranger Things. Or maybe not, I'll just talk.
We're not kids anymore. I mean, what did you think, really? We're gonna play in my basement and play all the time? I guess I did.
I don't know why Will sounds like that.
I really did. The mind flash. My name is William Byers, and I have been taken by the Demogorgon.
First time, first love, blah, 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 electricity flows like a very first kiss, like a break from the clouds.
Hello. Episode 1, it starts off with Russians, and they're seemingly opening a portal to the Upside Down, which not seemingly, whatever. They're obviously opening a portal to the Upside Down. They have the freaking Terminator guy. What is this guy's role? I didn't understand what his guy's role is. In like this whole thing, he's literally is he there to just kill people? I don't know what it was about the Russian music that they're playing, which by the way, it's called The Red Army is the Strongest. Whenever I was first watching it and that song's playing and they have that shot of the Russian flag, I was like so hyped. I don't even know why. I was like, the Russians! Shot of the Russian flag, fade to black. The intro plays and I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, and then freaking out. It was like 3 a.m. July 4th,
and then you pan to 11 and Mike
and 11 kissing the
out.
freaking Corey Hart, which the song that they're playing, one of my favorites, which
apparently they've been doing this for the past 6 months,
for the past like 6 for this it's so weird to
come
think
on
about.
He's like
it
14,
doesn't get old after
18,
like the first
and
month.
I've never experienced
this kid is making out with more girls than I hug in a year.
Hopper's like 3 inches open.
Okay.
No.
One thing I want to point out, this season they completely dropped the lost sister plotline completely.
Thank God.
Which there's only one reference to it throughout the whole entire season. Which
I can't remember what it was.
I don't know if you caught it. In the first episode, whenever it pans from like the radio to Mike and 11 kissing, on the wall 11 has like her little baby mask that she was wearing, and that's the only reference to it. So
Hopper's
Mike
in a midlife
11,
crisis.
Yeah, Hopper's having sort of a midlife crisis. Yeah, Fat Thor type. So there's
putting on a little bit of a anyway.
If there's one thing I don't like about this season is what they did to Mike's character, at least in the early episodes, because like he sort of like gets back into it, in my opinion, in the later episodes. Sort of like in season 2, he was sort of like, you can't join our party, and he was very like grumpy. And then like by the end of it, he's sort of like gravitated back towards that like leader thing. Like, all right, what if we do this and like set the tunnels on fire? And it's like, all right, he's back. He's like season 1 type Mike now.
So yeah, Mike's sort of just being that one kid who like doesn't hang out with friends because he has a girlfriend now, which is kind of like
the only thing I didn't like about it.
I'll give you a pass.
Yeah, I'll give it a pass. The only thing I didn't like about it is that like he was sort of a jerk this season, at least in early episodes. Like I can kind of understand why, which he does change by the end of the season. Kind of that was just something, at least rewatching it, that I was sort of like, they really did like change his character, like, which I just didn't get why. So this season introduces the Starcourt Mall, which I don't know about you. I love the fact that a large part of the season takes place in a mall. Like, I love malls. I love shopping malls. I love old school shopping malls.
It's
like,
such a good atmosphere. Like malls like that are like barren.
Are so awesome. Like, I love malls that are structured like that.
Oh yeah, like this mall brings back like memories.
Even though like I wasn't born in the 80s, when I was younger, I went to malls that were built like that, and they had stores that I loved and I liked going to and everything, and it was just so cool.
Yeah.
And new malls are so bland nowadays. Like I visited some family in South Carolina over Christmas, and we decided to go to the shopping mall that had opened up like 2 years before. And so we went, and this is all like, it's all like white tile. Everything looks so bland. They don't have, it didn't, at least this mall, it didn't have escalators. Like it was just so boring. And I was like, what happened to like the colorful malls that have escalators?
It was a
giant
trend.
Plazas.
People were excited when it came out, and then they're just like,
I love shopping malls. And I guess I should bring this up in this thing. Before season 3 came out, I went to all the filming locations.
Oh yeah, and you were on the set of.
Yeah, I was on the set of Stranger, sort of. Yeah, like on the set where they filmed.
You were near the set.
3. I was in the entrance of the ball where they filmed scenes like Mike and Eleven's breakup.
Oh my
like
gosh.
I was standing right there. Which I still have footage of that video, so I'll definitely put that in whenever I like talk about it. One thing I want to point out about this mall in real life is that it is empty.
They revitalized this mall. So basically, I think at the beginning of this episode, they go to the mall and they introduce that, and it's sort of just like setting stuff up. And then in this episode, I'm pretty sure that it's not episode 2 when this happens, but this is the episode where they show the pool, right?
Yes. That's where they introduce it.
I knew that. I'm not a noob, guys, but I just wanted to make
not
sure.
a Stranger Things noob.
One thing that is a trigger warning, because I used to be a lifeguard.
Oh, yeah.
So
okay.
Anyone who used to be a lifeguard, like the 5 people who
are watching
a lifeguard
this.
that like I know or whatever, like
yeah.
Anyone who's watching this, if you happen to be a lifeguard, you probably know what I'm talking about. So like all these moms are basically like simping over Billy, right?
Yeah.
They're all like, oh, he's calling out. So the girl gets down, right? First of all, let me point out, there's one lifeguard seat. There's literally like 100 people in this pool. My pool only had like 50 people on busy days, and we had 2 lifeguards. Anyway,
and this is a small town, keep in mind.
The thing that bothered me the most is when the girl gets down and they're all like, oh, here he comes. When the girl gets down, there's no one watching the pool. The proper thing that you're supposed to do is the lifeguard comes to the seat, and then the other lifeguard gives the freaking like
whistle,
red thing, not the whistle, because
you don't need a whistle. Yeah,
but like the what's the thing called? The red like floppy. I can't even remember what it's called.
I don't know. You're the lifeguard.
I'm a noob lifeguard. Whatever.
A noob lifeguard.
So they're supposed to basically switch out while they're both standing right next to each other.
Yeah, but both watching the pool
so that no one freaking dies. But she literally walks into the shack and like there's a whole like 30 seconds where no one's watching, and I'm like, screw the mind flare. Someone's gonna die to this negligence.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure this isn't allowed. He's smoking at the pool, which I don't know if that's allowed.
It's the 80s.
One thing I wanted to point out about the mall before we get back in real life. 1, it's empty. 2, Netflix only bought out like the food court area. One thing I thought was cool, at least whenever we went there, I doubt this is before season 3 came out, but I doubt that it's still there. On the entrance to the food court, which was locked, of course, but they had Star Court logos on the door still, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so awesome. So that's just a little thing about the mall. So early episodes set up different locations and characters. I love the mall. And
we love season
3. Episode 1 is sort of just a return to the show. It's a big like we're back type episode. One thing that is set up is that Dustin has a girlfriend, Susie. He comes home from camp and he's like, I can talk to my girlfriend with this Cerebro whenever and wherever I want. They're like, oh, girlfriend? One thing. That was actually so good. They sort of set up that there's a divide in the friend group almost. Mike and Eleven are making out constantly. There's that one line where Mike's like, sorry, man, curfew. And then he's like,
4 o'clock.
He's like, curfew at 4. And he's like, I just got home. And I was like, dang.
Basically, Dustin has to set up this like
radio
tower on a hill, and this comes into play later.
Oh, for sure.
They don't leave loose threads in this show. I mean, someone's probably going to comment and be like, this is actually a loose
Well, actually, there's a loose thread in season 2.
So he sets up the radio. Susie isn't copying.
Friggin' Susie.
Yeah, so it sets up a bunch of different plot points. Joyce and Hopper. Hopper is, of course, going insane that Mike and Eleven are making out constantly. There's also Jonathan and Nancy's side of the story where at least Nancy is sort of working in like a toxic workplace environment.
They're like really, the boss is like a really big like douchebag, like a new level like jerk.
This guy
Nancy Drew.
Nancy Drew.
I mean, it's not like he survives.
Oh yeah. This guy is so over the top. Nancy's like, oh, like different places on Main Street have shut down. He's like, the death of small town America. Like, I like it. Like, I got something even spicier. The missing mustard on my hamburger. And one thing I thought of, this is sort of similar to like the Draco Crab and Goyle type thing. When this guy goes like, the missing mustard on my hamburger, everybody's like,
everyone's like, oh, you're such a
they're like
genius
dying.
comedian.
I'm like, that's not funny. Like,
yes, man.
what's so funny about that?
Like, he's
yes,
your
man,
boss.
yes.
We have to laugh.
Oh my gosh. So that's set up with Nancy and Jonathan. Another thing that's set up that sort of that isn't all that important. Not sadly, but Will, he just wants to play T&D.
Oh yeah, he's clean. Let the past die. He's clinging to the past.
The past destroys Castle Fires.
Let the past die. Kill it if you have to.
Billy, Mrs. Wheeler,
Goes
Mike's
nowhere.
mom. This is something I thought was really weird. I thought that it was kind of like rewatching it. I'm like, that's funny, kind of, whatever.
Awkward.
Like in season 2, I thought it was kind of funny. It's like one scene, but he was sort of just like I didn't know Nancy had a sister. She's like, I'm Nancy's mother, and he's like, oh, Mrs. Wheeler. It's kind of like weird, but I was like, all right. I was like,
find a girl
whatever.
Your age.
Find a girl your age. You're like what, 17 canonically? I thought that was a really weird thing to do, because literally the main plot of the show kicks in because Billy was about to bang Mike's mom.
It ends
Billy
with Billy getting taken by something.
Taken.
You don't know what it is. He's going to this
weird tentacle thing.
place. He crashes and he goes into this, and he's like, "What the?"
One thing I thought was weird is that something clearly hits his windshield. Right? He crashes and he's like,
Mind Flayer threw it.
piece of crap. He's like punching his car. I'm like, how is that a problem with your car? Like something literally hit your windshield and he's like kicking his car like, piece of crap, piece of junk.
Issues.
I'm like, what? So he gets taken. That's episode 1 basically.
Episode 2 is a mole rots.
Oh, also Steve and Robin. Set up.
Oh yeah, Steve and Robin. Steve's working at a ice cream place called
Ahoy.
Scoops Ahoy, and Robin's cool.
One thing I wanted to point out beforehand, I should have pointed this out earlier, but when season 3 came out, I watched the trailers for season 2 and I was hyped for it. But whenever season 3 came around, whenever that first trailer came around, I was like, I'm going to get like the full experience, right? I followed like so many different like Comic-Con events. Like I'd watch the panels.
Yeah.
Baskin Robbins did this
Build the
like
hype.
Stranger Things partnership, and like they had the most delicious ice cream. Like their flavor, they had like this one called 11's Heaven, which was like coffee flavored ice cream with like pieces of waffle cones and fudge and everything. It was the most
Ooh.
delicious thing in the world. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out. So episode 2,
Subscribe.
the Mallrats. Subscribe, please. The Mallrats. A lot of stuff that happens in this episode. Mainly, one thing that in the season, which I didn't like the choice that was made, but considering what we got, I'm okay with it. But like, I really thought it was weird how they had Mike and 11 break up. I thought that was really weird.
It was to
because
show
they
some
built
like realistic like
drama type
prepubescent, not
things.
prepubescent, but like middle school / early high school drama.
Yeah,
Yes, it makes sense. But one thing I was gonna say,
it makes sense. Yeah,
for the first 2 seasons, you're like, oh, it's so cute, Mike and 11, it's so cute and innocent. And then as soon as they finally get together, and like the ending of season 2 is such a good like way of that happening.
Yeah.
And as soon as that happens, the next thing you see is them basically breaking up because of a misunderstanding. And I'm like, realistic?
Yeah.
But I don't like
realistic, yes, but like I didn't
It's-
I didn't like it, but I did like what we got with that. Like I liked the 11 and Max stuff, like their storyline and
Yeah.
everything. But like
I didn't
I
like
thought
that
like
happened, but I knew it was necessary.
the only reason I didn't like it is because they built up Mike and 11's relationship for 2 seasons. And season 3 was kind of like, okay, they're like 11's finally not in the lab anymore. She's not in hiding, And then they broke up in the second episode, which it isn't a big deal, but I just thought that was kind of weird watching it for the first time. Like still now, like when I watch it now, I'm like, I'm completely fine with it because I'm like, I know where it goes, you know? I just thought that was weird for the first time. So we have a really fun reuniting thing with Dustin and Steve. And like Steve and Rob, okay, well, in episode 2, at that point, it's just Dustin and Steve mainly because that's when Robin finds out. But, you know, Dustin and Steve and Erica and Robin, their side of the story is probably, I mean, I really do like the Mike and Lucas and 11 Will stuff, but like, I really love the Scoops troop side of everything because that's just like, I love what they're doing. Like,
wait, what even is Mike and everyone doing the whole season? Like,
I don't get what their goal is. Like, they didn't really have like a plan or anything.
I remember they were talking about the Mind Flayer
but they didn't really do anything.
What did they do?
Dustin, okay, you know what's sad? Dustin in episode 2, he's like, they ditched me, but they don't get to share my glory. Dustin was totally right about the Russians, but like at the end of the season, his big discovery gets covered up by the government, so he can't even get his glory. So Dustin and Steve, they reunite. We have a very fun sequence where Mike is trying to find something for 11 to apologize for. I love this sequence where Material Girl by Madonna is playing, and like it's like just a montage. Like I love it because like Mike, Lucas, and Will, like what they're doing is literally what me, my brother, and my cousin will do when we're at the mall. Like there's that one scene whenever like Mike is at like, I forget what the store is called, but he looks at like the golden teddy bear and he's like, "Excuse me, sir, like how much for this little teddy bear right here?" And then it's like 300, and like that's, my cousin will literally go into stores and go into like a Gucci store and look at like, or a Rolex store, not Gucci.
You're like, how much does this cost? I have $5 in my pocket.
He'll look at no, seriously, he'll look at like a Rolex and be like, not Gucci. Why did I say Gucci? He'll look at a Rolex and he'll be like, "Excuse me, how much is this worth?" And they're like, some crazy amount. I can't think of a number off the top of my head. But then he'll be like, "Oh, I only have 20. Sorry." And then I'll just walk out.
They'll just be like peasants.
But it's very fun to see these characters.
Fun kid
like,
stuff.
At this point in the season, Steve and Dustin have like enlisted Robin to help them. I love Robin as a character. She again, it's just, I don't know how they do it, but like most new characters that they get, especially, and this is the case with Robin, they play off of the other characters so well. It's really difficult. It's really difficult when you think about it to introduce new characters into an already established show. And whenever Robin gets introduced, she doesn't feel like tacked on. She mixes with everything. Yeah. So
Joyce told Hopper how to deal with like the kid. Deal with talking to Mike and 11 about like setting up some boundaries. He takes Mike and he's like, "You have to go home. Your grandma's sick. You're not going to be seeing 11 for a while." And he's like, that's why they break up, because he lies to 11 like, "Oh, we can't hang out." He's like, "My grandma's sick," but in reality he can't hang out because Hopper said so. And so then they break up because Max is like, "You need to dump him because he lied." And
give him a taste of his own medicine. Give him the medicine. Episode 2 ends with, by the way, Billy took the lady lifeguard Heather. He takes her. Episode 2 ends with him giving her to, like, we don't know what it is yet, but it's
sacrificing her to an evil upside down.
To an evil thing. She's screaming. Episode 3, the case of the missing lifeguard. I love the episode titles, by the way. So the main thing in this episode, it's a lot more investigation. Like with 11 and Max, they're sort of going around trying to figure out what's going on with Billy, because at the beginning of the episode they're like spying on everybody. They spy on Billy. They see that he's up to some suspicious activity. There's literally
a girl to get out of there.
Get out of there.
Traumatized for life.
One of the songs on the soundtrack is literally called Happy Screams.
Really?
Really. So then they know that Billy's up to no good, basically. Hopper's triggered at Joyce, and he's like, "Oh, you stood me up." Joyce is like,
they're going on a date.
11 and Max are kind of like investigating Billy, like his activity and everything. They go to the pool.
Robin translates.
Oh yeah.
They finally figure it.
Troop. And episode 3, by then they have the code translated. Robin cracks the code. She realizes that like the week is long. The silver cat feeds. When blue meets yellow in the west. They figure out that the Russians.
They're in the mall.
And the music on like Dustin's tape from like the transmission. Very cool thing. I thought it was cool. I love those type of scenes whenever like it's so like discovery. Oh shoot, like whenever Steve's like, that transmission, it's not coming from Russia, it came from here, and it's like, oh my god. Before we go on to episode 4, because that's like, that basically sums up all the important stuff about episode 3, except for this one thing I want to point out. Mike and Will have a fight or argument, more like it. Mike is being a jerk. Like Mike and Lucas are kind of just like, Will just wants to play D&D. And Mike and Lucas, they're not interested at all. They're just really concerned about the girls and everything. And then like Will's playing D&D. He's like, oh, like the goblin like bites your arm or something like that. And then Mike's like, oh, look at my arm.
They're like basically not into it. And then he gets
and then Will gets so mad. And I've been in that situation, not like yelling, but like when I try to do something with like people and then they're just so not interested and I'm just like, whatever. I don't care. Because I remember when season 3 came out, as I was watching it, I had friends that we used to watch Stranger Things together. And like, I would be like, hey, there's a new season now. Do you want to watch it? And they're like, I don't want to watch that anymore. And I was like,
what's your problem?
And I'm like, and I was like, am I literally Will this season? Like,
fine. Go watch Bird Box and then in 3 weeks you won't like it because it's not actually good.
Because it's not relevant anymore.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I hate the people who watch the show only whenever it's popular, then suddenly hate it whenever it's not like there's not hype around it. It's actually overrated. But then the next season comes out, they're like, oh my gosh, it's the new season. They act like it's terrible whenever there's no hype surrounding it. I like the show when there's no hype surrounding it.
I make hype. I make my own.
Yeah, I make hype. I make hype a year after the season's been released.
Heck yeah.
This show's the best. I don't care.
I think watching it the second time through, I appreciated it more.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, every time I rewatch it as a series, I appreciate it way more than I did before. I love rewatching this. So they have a scene that I thought was sad. I don't know about you. Where
it was actually surprisingly emotional.
Their argument scene is actually very like, dang, like it's like, because Will is spitting straight facts. He's like, you're ruining our party. Mike's like, that's not true. He's like, really, where's Dustin right now? And then Mike's kind of like, he doesn't answer, and he's like, you don't know, you don't care.
Everyone used to like be in contact all the time, and now it's just like,
now they're just not even
11.
Yeah, and then like,
which I do get. It makes sense, like what he's saying.
Yeah, it does make sense. But he's like, you're destroying everything, and for what? So you can swap spit with some stupid girl. How's that stupid? Episode 3 ends with Will being basically confirmed that the Mind Flayer is back, and Billy and Heather, they knock out Heather's parents and they take them somewhere. They don't see it yet.
To the suck monster.
Okay, so episode 4 starts off with Heather's parents getting like, I guess, pumped full of Mind Flayer guts or something.
They get sucked.
Also, Nancy and Jonathan's story is sort of picking up. Nancy's trying to like show her bosses like the rat, and it's like, oh, this is happening all over Hawkins. They don't believe her. They're sort of making fun of this is a Nancy Drew book. And they're like making fun of Nancy. It's kind of funny how Jonathan can already see it coming. He's sort of like, this is not a good idea. And like,
she's just like on the high of like chasing this case.
Episode 4 as a whole, this is where this season like zooms into high gear by the end of it.
Oh, this episode it's
amazing. So basically at this point, Mike, Will, Lucas, they sort of like they're not back to Lucas and Max and Mike and 11. They're not back together, but they sort of like make amends. They call a meeting at Mike's house. Will tells everybody that the Mind Flayer's back. All while this is happening, Dustin, Steve, and Robin, they see these Russians are like going into this loading dock, and they're putting in boxes, and they don't know what's in the boxes. So their goal is to get into that loading dock. So Robin leaves. And one thing I thought was funny is Steve's or Joe Keery's line delivery in this scene. Whenever Robin, you don't know why she's leaving, but she takes the tip money and she leaves. And she's like, I need cash. And he's like, half of that's mine. He sounds so sad.
I need cash. Well, the half of that's mine. Where are you going?
So yeah, their main goal is to get into that loading dock. So all of this is happening.
I can't remember that girl's name. Sinclair.
Erica,
I just
Lucas's sister.
She's a nerd, but she makes fun of them for being a nerd.
Oh my gosh, okay, we're gonna get into. I think that's like the next episode where Dustin calls her out. All while this is happening, Mike and the gang, Mike and 11, and there's 5 different characters. 11 and Mike, their side of the story. They're investigating Billy. They conduct a plan, the sauna test. 11 is like really triggered at Mike. He figures out that that she spied on him. That's totally against the rules. If I'm a different species, maybe I should be with my species more. He's like, did you spy on me? Mike really hates Hopper in the season, which I don't know why.
I think they sort of are cool with each other by the end.
Oh,
There's one little scene that like, be careful.
I was about to say, considering
like, what happens
to Hopper by the end of the season, but alive, but in their eyes. So anyway,
oh my gosh, Elle's reaction to not seeing Hopper.
So episode 4, I'm gonna just sum
my
up
heart.
the Scoop troops.
When people post something and they're like, my heart.
My heart. Yeah, I'm just gonna post that entire last 20 minutes of that episode. My heart. The Scoops troop. They find out. They get Erica. Okay, Erica only agrees to do it if she gets free ice cream for life. They go into that loading dock. They have some kind of funny scene. Well, yeah, Steve's reaction. Dustin's like, if you die, I die. And then there's like a 5-second pause, and Steve's just like, all right. It's just like, all right.
It's like, all right, I can't make your decisions. It's a free country.
So they open up
without Dustin.
Without Dustin. They can't spell America without Dustin. I'm putting that in the description.
Wait a minute.
They open up the box for Imperial Panda, the restaurant, and
it's not Chinese food.
And that's definitely not Chinese food. Another title of one of the songs on the soundtrack. And then it's a green liquid type thing. Robin's like, let's get out of here. They're pushing the buttons, and then the elevator drops. And when I first saw that, I was like, what's happening? By the end of episode 4, the Scoops troop are being sent down in this elevator. And so then the honestly best part of this episode, Billy is at the pool. I don't know why he's there so late, but he is there.
I think it was just showering off for hours, apparently.
They set up a trap. The lights go off and everything, and then Billy's walking through. He's like, Billy's like, who's there? If I find you, it's your funeral. And then he he goes into the sauna, and he sees that there's this dummy, and he's like, they're like, behind you. He turns around to Eleven's like, hi, and then throws it back to the wall. And then very awesome scene.
They didn't really have to beat him up just yet, but she just bashes him
just to make sure
that
the tile. Just
he can handle it, and it's they don't even. Fine. This test is to see if he's possessed. They don't even know if he can withstand.
Imagine if he wasn't possessed.
He just dies.
So, very intense scene. Also, while this is happening, Nancy is in the hospital with the Driscoll lady, and as Billy is having a reaction to the heat, Mrs. Driscoll's having a similar reaction. Nancy kind of recognizes it as the same thing that was happening to Will in the season 2 finale, and so Billy. They have the door chained up and locked up. Billy tries to I guess he sort of tries to trick them, where he's just like, oh, it's not my fault and everything. And then Max goes up to the window, and then it's just so intense because Will is I feel him. He's activated. Sad. Yeah, she's so sad, and she's talking to him. Will's he's activated, and Mike's just Max, get away from the door. It's what? It's get away from the door. And then he breaks the glass on the door, and he starts screaming. He's going crazy. And then Lucas's wrist rocket actually helps somebody for once. Usually it never has helped in the past season, but it actually
what did it do? Did it actually shoot him?
Yeah, he shot him in the face, and then he fell back.
Oh yeah, they've hinted at that. So this is you should cheer
this
is
the payoff moment.
Cap getting Thor's hammer.
Lucas's wrist rocket actually doing something bigger moment than Captain America picking up Thor's hammer. Don't at me. The light starts to flicker. I really loved the group shots and the camera spinning shots of the kids and everything. Billy breaks out, and this is the most insane thing at that point that the show had done. They have such an intense fight. 11 picks up the weight and she throws it at Billy, and he's pushing it off, and she's screaming. And then he starts choking her.
I thought she was going to die the first time I saw it. I'm not kidding.
When I was watching it, I was it was so late at night. I was watching it, and they were just standing there. And I was like, do something.
They were freaked out, but I'm like, bro, she's going to die.
She's going to die.
Mike redeems himself for being earlier.
He slaps Billy with a pole. He's just, that's such a satisfying moment. And then it's immediately oh, shoot. Whenever Billy catches it.
You piece of shit!
This whole scene is so intense.
This is one of the best scenes
in the season, in the show. And so then 11 picks up Billy and throws him through the brick wall, and it's just so amazing, so intense, and
it's such an emotional thing. Wasn't she crying into his?
She was afterwards, and so she was crying into his arms afterwards. I think she was leaning back, and Mike was holding her. It's just so intense, and so such a after it happened is such a oh my gosh moment. I remember audibly being after I first watched it, audibly being oh my gosh. It's just
this season is good if we're having climaxes in not only episode 4 but episode 5.